begin the ceremony, the commander, 1st Special Operations Wing, Colonel Mike Plain.
Well, good morning. What a beautiful day at Hurlburt Field. General and Mrs. Schwartz, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force Roy, Mr. Long, General and Mrs. Worcester, Command Chief Turner and his wife Stacy, Mayor Anderson, General and Mrs. Woolley. A special welcome, of course, to our former AFSOC Commander, Major General Jim Hobson as well, and to our many distinguished guests, and especially to those who have ridden this mighty warbird and those like her. Thank you for being here today. Around us in this beautiful, serene air park quietly sit stabled warbirds from conflicts past. And among us sit many warriors who rode them to battle and back. They have landed here on their final flight and remind us daily of the commitment, courage, and sacrifice of all our air commandos, of all our airmen who bring the power of the sky to the battlefield. You would not be wrong if you called this collection the League of Extraordinary Aircraft. But really, it is the League of Extraordinary Airmen flying extraordinary aircraft. That is the essence of Air Force Special Operations. Specially trained airmen with a no-fail warrior spirit who strap into purpose-modified aircraft to achieve results others cannot. And today, we assign yet another legendary member to their company. MC-130 Echo, tail number 567, sits before us, poised to take to the skies once more. But its time for action has come and gone, yet still it serves. And like the other warbirds here, as long as it stands, it offers us all a tangible reminder of heroic days, courageous airmen, and daring deeds. May she always bear witness to those with the guts to try. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Dan Zook.
What a great day. First, just let me say that I think this gal, 567, looks fantastic. So thank you to all of those folks who were involved in making this day a reality. And I don't care who you are, you have to admit that's a good-looking airplane. General and Mrs. Schwartz, General and Mrs. Worcester, Chief Roy, General officers, commanders, chiefs, community leaders, and all of those young and old who appreciate the combat Talon. Welcome today. General Schwartz, I just want to say for the record, I think it's absolutely perfect that the highest ranking officer in the Air Force and a Talon guy is here today. Thank you very much for making time for this ceremony. General Worcester, your support over the years for the Air Park has been remarkable and is a key reason we have so much of our heritage here surrounding us. On behalf of all the Air Commandos, thank you, sir. Throughout her life, 0567 has been a workhorse. This old gal has been in the thick of it, leading from the front, has been the backup, and has sat on the sidelines for some of the pivotal events in the history of SOF and combat Talons. Like those of you who flew her, she was always ready, eager to get in the game, and performed brilliantly when her number was called. I think she is a perfect fit for this hallowed ground of Air Commando excellence. In 1964, the Studies and Observation Group made a recommendation to the Air Force about the same time the Fulton Recovery System was being developed to provide a unique aerial capability beyond what the Air Force currently possessed. The Air Staff directed that 14 HC-130s on the assembly line at Lockheed, Georgia be modified to the UW configuration. These aircraft were originally called C-130E I's, and because of the largely black and some green paint scheme of that time, they were often referred to as Blackbirds. In late 1968, 5667 was identified as one of 12 clamp aircraft, meaning it would receive the Fulton modification. During the daring Sante raid, she was in theater, but was not involved in the heroic mission. In 1971, she was part of Combat Spear at Nha Trang Air Base with the 90th Special Operations Squadron, conducting live Fulton pickups as part of their training. Of note, at that time, members of the 90th were authorized to wear the distinctive bush hats with their utility uniforms. In 1972, she was sent to CCK and was later pushed on to the 7th Special Operations Squadron in Germany. Later that year, the 90th morphed into the 1st Special Operations Squadron at Kadena, and after the 1973 ceasefire in Vietnam, 567 made her way back to the Pacific Theater and stayed there until August. In the mid-70s, along with the rest of her sisters in the fleet, she received the Mod 70 upgrade, which included the APQ-122V8 radar and a host of other upgrades. Finally, in 1977, all combat Talons, the Clamps, Yanks, and Swaps, were designated as MC-130Es and stayed that way for the duration of their careers. Also in 1977, 6-7 was loaned to the 7th in Europe to keep their fleet at 4 aircraft. That year, she was the platform identified to conduct high-speed, low-level aerial delivery system certification with the Army. So it was because of this gal's work that we have been using the ring slot chutes at 250 knots and 250 feet to get the ground forces what they need. And MC-130s are still the only ones doing this, on time and on target. Just 2 weeks ago, we remembered the heroes of Operation Eagle Claw with a remembrance right over there at the chapel. This aircraft played a key role in the build-up, rehearsal, and execution of that mission. In fact, her current configuration and paint scheme reflect that of the courageous 1980 mission into Iran. We all know that story. On November 4th, 1979, American Embassy in Tehran was taken over and Americans were held as hostages. In typical soft fashion, only 23 days later, Brency, Meller, Utaro, and Thigpen were out at Tab 6 developing NVG blacked-out landing procedures in this very airplane. After several bone-crushing touchdowns, their words, not mine, a method of fine-tuning a mini ARA approach from 300 feet down was developed and eventually perfected. On the 3rd of December, Utaro took this plane out to DM to further refine the procedures in a desert environment. Meller took her out to Pope and then 29 Palms for a rehearsal mission, and on the 18th of April, Furkies took 567 to Rhine Mine to position for the actual mission with a call sign Ember 71. During the course of Operation Eagle Claw, she was positioned at Wadi Kina in Egypt with Meller's crew and was a Night 2 aircraft. The echoes of that watershed event are with us here today. Shortly after Desert 1, 567 was in the lineup again with some of the same crews for Honey Badger. She was ready to go if her nation needed her. In 1983, Operation Urgent Fury, a rescue mission in Grenada, required the unique capabilities of the Talon. Then Lieutenant Colonel Hobson would lead a fleet of 5 Talons to airland a force of special operators to Point Salinas. If they couldn't land, they were to airdrop the same force. This time she was a second-wave aircraft, flown by Crew 4, call sign Foxtrot 40. Because of the equipment she carried, she airdropped the ground force, and once the field was clear, she landed and offloaded that critical equipment. On December 18th, 1989, crews were recalled to the 8th Special Operations Squadron to begin what would become Operation Just Cause. The Talon mission was to airdrop TF Red Romeo and then stand by for the call to come in and land. 567 was the only Talon at that time modified with the latest SOFI configuration and was the lead aircraft into Rio Hato. After Noriega was captured, he got to ride back to Miami on this Talon. On August 11th, 1990, 8th SOS Commander Tom Barris took 4 Talons, this being one of them, to RAF Woodbridge and later on to King Fahd. The forces of Iraq had invaded and occupied Kuwait. It was the beginning of Operation Desert Shield, which would eventually turn into Desert Storm. The Talons performed brilliantly, conducting virtually all of their medals, including leaflet drops and the airdrop of Blue 82s. 15,000 pounds of fun. The 90s brought significant activity to the Talon community and all Special Operations forces. Talons were engaged during various crises in the Balkans, Haiti, and some other garden spots around the globe, performing a myriad of mission sets. The Talon II also began to be fielded in FSOC squadrons, and the shift to Talon IIs overseas began to take place. In 1995, the reservists at the 919th up at Duke began flying the Talon. And in 1997, the Fulton Recovery System was terminated. On the 5th of March, 1999, the Air Force announced that the Talons would be given to the reservists and the 8th SOS would become the first CV-22 squadron. The implementation date for the transfer of all 14 combat Talons to the reserve component was January 1st, 2000, and the reserve-associate relationship would be stood up. Active duty crews would still fly the Talons, and active duty maintainers would work on them, but all the aircraft belonged to the 919th Special Operations Wing. Like most of you, I have loved flying this aircraft. The mission, the crews, the forces we support with it, and the rush of flying around at 250 feet are something all Talon crews will eventually miss. In many ways, I find this day to be bittersweet. But before you write off this beauty and her sisters, I would remind you that although 567 has seen her last rodeo, some of her sisters are downrange right now, wreaking havoc on an enemy that would otherwise do us harm. So in my humble opinion, the combat Talon, and this one in particular, have earned the right to be included in this park of valor. I shall forever enjoy seeing her here. Thank all of you for coming out on this beautiful and momentous day. May God watch over all of you and continue to bless this great nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Zook. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Master Sergeant Berryhill.
Good morning. Thank you, General Swartz, Mrs. Swartz, Mr. Long, General Worcester, Mrs. Worcester, Chief Roy, Chief Turner, and all the past Talon commanders, crew members, maintainers, and everyone for taking the time out of their busy schedules to be here today. I also want to thank Colonel Plain and Colonel Zook for inviting me out to say a few words for this proud airplane. It has been my honor to have flown and still flying on the Talon for more than 23 years. I'm here to give you a glimpse in a little history and key dates of 640567, known as the Wild Thing, while it was at Duke Field. The aircraft was originally signed to the 919th Special Operations Wing in February of 1998 and is both flown by the 711th Crews and the 8th SOS Crews. On January 2002, 567 was one of two aircraft in the first wave of MC-130Es to land and operate out of K2, Uzbekistan, for Operation Enduring Freedom, where it remained for an entire year. It flew in support of Operation Anaconda and numerous other operations in the early parts of OEF. Then in early 2003, 567 came home to Duke Field and went into its final phase of depot maintenance. In July 2004, 567 returned to Afghanistan, again flying missions out of K2, where in all the aircraft flew over 140 successful combat missions in support of Operation Enduring Freedom between January 2002 and October 2004. In mid-2005, it was again modified for some ECM testing and repositioned to LAS Ontario and Edwards Air Force Base, where it remained for 2 years of flight testing. Then in the spring of 2007, 567, along with aircrafts 555, as we all know as Triple Nickel, 572, and 7785 were placed into flyable storage at March Air Force Base, California, and then later transferred to the Idaho Air National Guard in Boise, Idaho, for possible follow-on missions. But then, on 25 January 2010, the Air Force Materiel Command sends a message directing retirement of aircraft and transfer to the National Museum of the United States Air Force with loan to the 1st Special Operations Wing for static display at Hurlburt Field, Florida. On 7 May 2010, aircraft 640567 makes its final flight from Boise, Idaho, home to its final resting place here at Hurlburt Field. Flight time, 6.2 hours. Total aircraft flight time, 21,336.5. Although this aircraft was not through, it came to the rescue of one of its sister Talons as it was damaged during a PDM, and it gave up its sturdy wing boxes to help aircraft 551 continue its flight today. As everyone that has known, flown, worked on a Herc, each one has its own personality. The MC-130 is no different. Each one has a unique attitude, a quirky personality. This attitude has grown from many years of overuse and abuse that continues to this day. For the crews that have flown and still fly these chariots of Armageddon that push them to their limits and sometimes beyond, not just for the thrill of flying, but also in the preparation of what might come next. As we are here on this sunny Florida day, I hope that once this mighty Talon enjoys its time in the sun, and that all its past crew members, maintainers, past and present, stop by the air park to visit their old friend, this combat Talon, as it has served its crews and its nation proudly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Master Sergeant Berryhill. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move over to the front of the Talon and unveil the plaques. Colonels Mike Plain and Colonel Andy Comtois will help unveil the plaques. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our newest addition to the air park, MC-130E, tail number 640567.